this solution to solve two big HR problems, right? We worked with a variety of our clients to come up with a solution, talk to HR personnel about some of their challenges, and we really tried to distill that learning down to two primary concepts. One is to create a self-service portal, right? With today's capabilities for remote workforce, for distribution, right, of users, potentially, across a region, across national boundaries, even international, providing the capability for users to be able to securely access human resources information and be able to accomplish kind of those common HR related tasks. We really tried to focus in on that concept. The second thing that we wanted to get into this application is really an idea of making it something that an HR team can manage with minimal to no support by an IT team, right? So we wanted this application to be something that is easy to maintain by really non-technical personnel. Being able to add and update your documents related to HR, be able to manage the application and make adjustments to it as business process and HR process changes in the background. So those are really the two driving pieces that we kept thinking about when we did the design. So our portal application is a SharePoint site and then a series of sub-sites underneath that which house different HR related applications. So we've built a variety of applications out. These can be deployed in an a la carte basis. That means that you can make decisions about which of our applications make sense for you, and then those can be deployed as part of the solution. And it does give us the capability of saying, hey, maybe I'll do the portal itself initially. I could always come back and maybe now I want to deploy our performance review application. Well, we've set this up so that you can do that at a later date if necessary. So our portal, as you can see here, is set up with, we have actually got two different page layouts. So when you purchase our portal solution, you have your choice of what we call our traditional department page layout. So this is the one that we're looking at right now. It's got the lists of information, kind of that traditional kind of department site that you might see in your intranet. We also make available what we kind of call our Windows 10 page layout. So this is an icon-based display, all the same functionality, but it's simply sets of icons that you can access. As part of the solution, we deploy the application in responsive design. So what that means is the application can recognize the device, essentially, am I on a mobile phone, am I on a tablet, so on and so forth, and the pages will automatically adjust to help facilitate the use of those various devices. So this can be very, very useful for, say, remote workforce, or I'm at home, it's Sunday night, the baby's sick, I had to take the baby to immediate care, good, they got him set up, but you know what, I'm going to have to take tomorrow off. I could be at immediate care, securely log into my HR portal, go to my time off request, and be able to fill that form out effectively from my mobile phone, right? So responsive design is included as part of the package. If I go back over here to our portal page, you can see again the application can adjust in terms of navigation and presentation. So it makes it pretty easy for you to go in, utilize that smartphone, and get to the information. So all that's included. The display and page layout, we also can update the application with your corporate colors and your corporate logo to kind of keep that all, consistent with deployment, say, with the rest of your SharePoint intranet. So our portal solution includes a lot of functionality within the app for sharing information from the HR team. And it also includes, as part of the base package, a time-off request application. So a web form that a user can fill out the information. Then we have a workflow component in the background that helps facilitate that approval process. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you. But let's go ahead and take a look at the features of our base HR portal website. So looking at the site here, you can see there is a section where we can deploy buttons that might launch, for example, web applications, but they could also link to other things in your environment. If you have other types of systems that you want to create that quick link, you want to have some nice information across each one of those icons. This component, or web part as it's called in SharePoint lingo, allows you to create as many of those icons as you need. We have a small format calendar. This is a SharePoint calendar contained within your HR portal site, and very easy to maintain, works very similar to setting up calendar events in, say, in Outlook. You can do reoccurring events, and it also supports in the background a variety of different types of events or scenarios within your calendar. So you can identify holidays, general HR type of calendar events or announcements. It also contains the ability to capture and maintain birthday and anniversary information. So you can put in your calendar data about your staff members, and that data then is rendered in a separate web part. You can see it here in the center column, our birthdays and anniversaries web part. And you can see here I have an anniversary that's occurring, and then we have a birthday and then another anniversary. So the application allows us to present that information, and we can control obviously the presentation of birth dates and things like that, or how old people are. The application also contains document libraries. So libraries in SharePoint, if you're not familiar with them, are basically buckets that you can store files within that bucket. So they can be a variety of different types of materials. They could be Word documents if you wanted to. They could be PDFs. They could be a variety of different things. It'll take really pretty much any type of file. We've then pre-populated the libraries with metadata, with information that helps you identify the purpose of that particular file, and to make it easier for your users to find that information. And you can see we've got a set of pre-populated metadata or identifiers, 529, Cobra Insurance, general information. This is adjustable. You can add additional labels. We can change these labels for you. That's no problem. So we've got a couple of different libraries. We've broken them out into concepts of policies and forms. Again, a lot of our clients, when we worked with them, they may have pre-existing PDF-based forms or Word-based forms that they want to go ahead and reutilize. I can store and manage those within my my SharePoint libraries behind my site, and I can provide that identifiers to help make it easy for people to find that information. We also provide a quick links list. So this is essentially a URL type of application where I can list out, here's the web address. It could be internal, it could be external, and I can give that URL a friendly name. You can see here we have a link for mutual funds. I've got a variety of different things. Again, you can point these really at any place that you've got a URL at. Give that a name that makes sense, and then also give it those labels to help folks understand what they're looking at. Really help facilitate that ability to come onto the site, see the information that that person needs, and be able to quickly access that. The next component that we make available as part of our HR portal is a employee search function. So this component, again, it's a web part. It integrates with the background Active Directory, which is the piece of the puzzle, if you will, that recognizes the users that are logging in. That Active Directory plays a couple of very important roles in our portal solution. One, it allows us to understand the context of the user and what they're able to access on the site. So you have the ability as an HR team to designate who can access the site, and then when they come to the site, what can they do? So am I, kind of the typical employee where I can come in and I can view information, I can see the forms, I can search for employees, but I can't really change anything. I might be a part of the HR staff, and maybe my role in that scenario is I'm going to be responsible for updating, our policies or our form documents, or maybe the calendar, right? Or I might be an administrator. I might need to be someone who has responsibility potentially for permissions and access, or I want to have the ability to maybe make some adjustments to the page presentation itself. So you have full control over the access of the environment, utilizing Active Directory and its integration with Microsoft SharePoint. The benefit of that is because we're able to recognize individual users, we're able to pull that information into kind of an aggregation for employee search. And I'm able then to leverage some information that's being stored and managed in the background. So for example, here we have our little search engine. I could click S, for example, and let that update, and you could see it. Clicking too fast there. So I can see that I'm looking at a little quick pre-program search that allows me to see Shrada, who's one of our developers. If I go back, I can go see all, and if I mouse over myself here, part of the functionality that we have is the ability to tie information from Active Directory, which might include, say, your email address, it might include your department, your title, those types of things, but it can also pull in additional information related to how that particular individual is interacting with the rest of the SharePoint environment. I can actually go in directly from the concept of my profile, and I can open up, if you're in SharePoint Online, for example, Microsoft Delve functionality. This is a search-based feature, and it allows us to see a more detailed set of information related to that individual. In this case, you can see I have some information related to the organization, people that I'm interacting with, documents that I might have worked with here recently, lots and lots of data. So the great thing about this is this information is already in the background of the application. We're just leveraging that through our search functionality, and I think it really plays a lot to that business need around the idea of who can I go to solve a business problem, right? Who can I go, or who's out there that can help me with this particular situation or this particular scenario? So you're able to leverage a lot of data that's being already captured in the background of SharePoint as a whole, and help facilitate that work process. So again, our HR portal solution includes the ability to create some friendly icons, point people at those important resources. You have a calendar that supports kind of those day-to-day events, holidays, so on and so forth, as well as birthdays and anniversaries. We provide libraries to store existing HR-related documents, and you do have the ability to update the labeling system that's in place here. We provide a base set, and then you can change that. We also have a link list available for the application and employee search. So all of these features are available with both of our page layouts. Our base portal package then also includes a business application. So after talking to some of the HR clients that we've had over the years and kind of talking through what would make sense, they kind of came back and said, different organizations, depending on, say, if you're already utilizing a payroll processing application and maybe it already has some features in there, or you have an employee performance application, something like that, it would probably be better if you kind of offered these apps in an a la carte basis. So we talked through with that, and we came up, I think, with a popular scenario of saying, okay, we're going to do our base portal, and then we're going to go ahead and offer one of our applications, and we decided the one that was getting the most requests was our time off request app. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at that application. Now I'm logged in with a couple of other accounts for demonstration purposes, and I'll try to make sure I'm pointing that out as we go through here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and switch over and utilize a second account that I'm logged in here as Test User 1. Test User 1 this is all in Office 365. Test User 1 has an email account, an Outlook that I've launched up here in the browser. And so what I'm going to do is go through a quick demo of our time off request. So I'm going to go ahead and click Submit a Time Off Request. You could have this set up, say, on the home page where, say, we've got one of those icons at the top that might point directly at our time off request. And when we put this together, what we wanted to try to do was help not only just capture the information related to the idea of the time off request, but also to facilitate the review and approval process, right? We want to make sure that people can submit the requests and get that timely response in the background. We're utilizing SharePoint functionality through SharePoint Tasks, which kind of helps us track the workload, but also we're using the integration with Microsoft Exchange that allows us to send email notifications. So I've launched our time off request. You'll notice that I can see up here at the top a representation of our our requirements around the time off request. Again, this is an editable section, so you can actually put in your specifics around this, or if you want to put in, say, a set of instructions. All of this is just a text area that can be maintained by the HR team. I've then got my requester. You'll notice that because the application recognized that I was Test User 1, it's pre-populated that. I'm going to go ahead and set up my start dates and end dates. So this utilizes kind of standard Microsoft Office presentation and the different types of icons. So I'm sure you're familiar that you knew that this was a calendar. And if I click on that, I can go ahead and make that request. Let's say I'm going to take off on the 22nd. So I can go in and apply that. I could also type that in manually. I'm going to say I'm going to take a total of 8 hours off, but we do also have functionality here to allow you to identify a morning or afternoon. So you could say I'm taking 4 hours. Maybe I'm going to do morning or afternoon for scheduling. We also have notes for scheduling. I'm going to say it's a dentist appointment. And you may have noticed next to a lot of these fields, there's little asterisks, and those asterisks designate that these fields are required. We can adjust this if you need to, but it makes sure that you're getting the proper information in the request so that the manager can take an action on that. My manager, it recognizes that and is pre-populated as Test User 2. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So this uses workflow in the background, and that workflow is set up basically to take the information from the request, and you can see here I've got my list of time off requests that are happening. I'm logged in as test user 1, so that's the information that I see. So again, this can be a tracking or kind of a dashboard, if you will, both for the user to say, here's all of my requests that I've made, but also for human resources to potentially use this as a presentation. What's really neat about your SharePoint environment is absolutely possible to present this data, which kind of looks into an Excel format. I can also show that in a calendar view needed. So potentially I've got a couple of folks that have utilized this. We don't have anybody scheduled this week, but you could potentially see here's the time off requests. So I'm going to switch over then to the manager, which is test user 2, and I'm going to go to test manager 2's mailbox. So there's an email that I've received from test user 1 asking for some time off. And again, this is a email that we can modify the text if you need to, but as a link. And if I click that link, it's going to go ahead here in just a second, and it's going to send me over to that time off request. And what you're going to see here is the test form. The form itself has been updated, and now there's a couple of additional fields. So I have the ability to say approve that. I'm going to say yes, and I'll just put it on, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. So this will update our list in the background that we looked at previously. And then we also have, as part of the workflow, where the application can take that data and send it to someone else. So this could go to potentially, your payroll person, could, go to some other folks that need to know about that approved time off request. We've also positioned the application so that it can be extended to output a file or data that potentially could be sent to a payroll application. Now, that particular piece of functionality is not included with the base package, but it is absolutely possible to do. We know that different organizations have different ways of processing payroll and time off requests. So we kind of let that open-ended, and if you want to discuss that more in terms of customization, we can absolutely do that. So I'm going to go back over very quickly again to our test user 1. Let me refresh this. I think it's going to go into the other box. And there it is. And I received that information that my time off request was approved. I could go in and click in and take a look at that. So that time off request functionality is included with our base package. But we've also provided a variety of additional HR-related applications that I'll run through here so that you can kind of see that feature set. One of our most popular ones is our employee onboarding application. So I've got that up here, and we'll go through that quickly. So this application is designed to handle the HR-related task sets around employee onboarding, employee change of position, and employee termination. So we've created a custom form, and depending on the particular type of transaction or action that you want to take, we've pre-populated the ideas of new hire, change position, or termination. If I click new hire, you'll see that the form does update. We can control the information that's populated here. So, for example, very quickly, I can go in and I can say my new hire is going to be coming in, let's say on May 1st. I can put in my new hire name. I'll just put in John Doe. We'll say that person is going to be accountant. Their manager, will say that could be test user 2. I can designate the department. Again, I've got that defaulted, and this information can be adjusted based on your particular departments. If I know the email address, I can provide that. We also provide an access card number field if you need that, and these can be adjusted if you don't want some of these. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. So the workflow is going to go ahead and it's going to process this in the background, and what it does is it creates SharePoint tasks. So SharePoint tasks are a mechanism in which you can track and audit the work process that you're trying to accomplish. Those tasks are generated based on a workflow that reads off of a configuration list. And this is super important because what it allows us to do is to give HR personnel the ability to configure exactly the types of tasks that you want to have accomplished based on these different types of transactions. So this is our access configuration list. I've got some demonstration data in here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to open up one of these so you can see in detail the features that you can work with. So you can make adjustments to your access list, or you can add new items as necessary. I'm going to go ahead and edit this particular item. Give that a second to come up. So the task provides a title for the task, a task description, which is a rich text box, which means you can type in exactly the information that you want the task to display. Exactly how you want it. You can put links in here. You can modify the text, whatever you want that to look like. You can assign that then to personnel. It supports the concept of groups in SharePoint, or you can assign this to individuals. Again, I can determine whether this particular task is related to a specific department. So in this case, because I've pre-selected that this is accounting, this task will only be generated if the user is entering the accounting department. So you're able to really kind of make this very, very specific based on different departments that your users are coming in. Think about training that they might have to go through specific to their department, or other types of tasks. I can activate and activate tasks. If I select it's a manager's task, this will automatically set the task up for the manager of the person. And then we've identified the type of request. This is for a new hire. So what's really cool about this configuration is that we don't have to go in and kind of recode stuff on the fly or make changes. The HR team manages all of this data. You can change it whenever you need to, which means the next time you run the application, it will have that new designation. It makes it extremely flexible, right? You can add additional transactions. Think about the idea of it's an employee training type of set of activities that you might want to configure. So you can add all these types of things to the application. So our access, we also have the ability, again, get this up here, to identify the different types of requests. I can tie groups to those requests. I can also control reminder emails. So based on the types of request, I can say how long should the application wait until it starts sending reminder emails. So you have the ability to configure that. So you have all of that stuff going on. So the application creates tasks. So you can see here, based on that particular configuration, it's starting to create those tasks that are out there. And these tasks are going to go to different groups or individuals based on that particular scenario. So if I go over here again to my test user 1, you'll see that my test user 1 got the email. You can see you have a new task. It's presented that information. Gives me a description of that. So all of that data that I configured in the configuration list is now available. Once I complete that, I've ordered those business records. I could go back as that user. It's going to allow me to access the task list. Give that a second to come up, and I can go ahead and say I completed that task. I also have the ability percentage complete if I needed to, and I can save that. So our access task list also provides kind of that auditing trail for human resources, right? Because it's going to allow me to see all of the activities that are going on related to new hires terminations, and change position. So HR team can constantly see this kind of in a snapshot view, be able to see all the stuff that's going on there. Okay, so that is our employee onboarding application. I'm going to go ahead and go back. The next one we're going to take a look at then is our employee change information form. So I've got that sitting out here as its application. Our change employee information form is designed to be kind of a generic form for employees to come in and submit changes related to their, kind of their personal things or profile, if you will, back to the HR team. So everything comes into one spot. You're able then to manage your activities related to changing employee information. Again, if I click our change employee information form, that could again be a link on our portal homepage, you'll see that it's pre-populated me as recognizes me, Chris Cummins. I'm not tied directly to some of the Active Directory stuff, which is why my department and manager do not show up, but we'll just put in here HR. Again, that can be tied and populated, but then I have my information change types. So we've defined several different change types that can occur. These are kind of the popular ones: changing address. I can change my emergency contact. You'll notice we've added the concepts of capturing IM numbers, email addresses, a couple of different phones, those types of things. I can add and update dependents. I can add and update beneficiaries. So quickly here, we'll just put a little bit of data. And again, you can control field information for, I won't fill all of this out for expediency. When would I need this to become effective? This would be maybe the 30th, and I can save it. So the application can generate tasks to the appropriate folks in the HR team, so you can configure that and point it to people. And again, you also have kind of that audit trail where you can see the information that's occurred. So over time, you can kind of accumulate that change data as you go along. So again, just another way of helping to facilitate information sharing from the employee back to the HR team. Our next component then is our new hire portal. So the new hire portal is intended to be a method that helps facilitate the kind of filling out paperwork on day one for an employee. It's also really intended to be a mechanism again of making sure that you're getting consistent information to the new hire, that they're getting all the information that they need, and we're really trying to cut down on the amount of printed information, right? So a lot of organizations today, you get a new hire, you've gone through the employee onboarding application to start all the setup for them. The employee shows up that first day, you've had to go out, find the copies of all the different documents, you've had to print that, create a packet, get that on the desk, that type of thing. And there's always challenges with that, right? It takes time. Are you sure you got the most recent version of the documents that need to be filled out? Did you get all of the documents that you need, right? So there's a fair amount of activity for HR personnel when you have to go through that physical work process. But if you had a site that the user could go to, that can really help facilitate that. So again, I'm going to switch over here. I think I'm on get my right one here. Here we go. So this is our new hire portal. And one of the cool things that you can do, or your IT team can do for you, is say you've provided the computer, user sits down and they log in the first time through group policy. Your IT team can potentially direct the user that first time to your web portal and to this page. So they come in, we've got our representation here. For example, I've got a link to click to see your welcome letter. I'll just show that really quickly so we could have that there. And there's our document. And then they have a series of tasks that they're looking at here. So I see a set of tasks, and it's been provided, what are the tasks I need to complete today, my first day, what do I need to complete within the first week, and I see lots of information here. So again, we've used kind of the same concept as we did with our employee onboarding application. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to my admin page here, my new hire admin side of the world, if you will. And you'll notice that as the administrators access, the HR team's access, I've got a dashboard that allows me to see kind of what's going on. So test user 2 has a set of tasks that they need to be accomplished, and these are essentially looking at the same data. So as my person completes these in real time, this is going to get updated so I know exactly what's going on. Again, I have a configuration list for my application. So what's really cool about this is, again, as an HR person, I don't need to go to IT to set up my new hire kind of workload, if you will. I can manage all of this myself. Again, similar context to what we saw before. I'm going to go ahead and open up my voluntary benefits task and edit this item. Give that a chance to come up. So similar to what we showed before, I can type in exactly what the title of this task is. I have a rich text box which allows me to set up links. And what's really cool, for example, in this scenario, is these links can be pointed at, say, your HR policies or HR document libraries in your portal site. What's really, really neat about that is I can make updates to that document in the portal, and as long as I'm saving that as the same file name, these links are going to continue to work, and so I don't have to go in and update documents across several different scenarios. I can keep one version of it, and then I can point at it from my different systems. So that really helps facilitate making sure that my user's getting the right information. It's the most current information. I don't have to worry about sets of printouts sitting in different places. I can just allow them to link through and access that. I can set my times to complete. I can do that first day, first week, simply information to review with no specific timeline. I can set display, active or inactivate. I can also point this to ancillary documents, again pointing it via a link list. And I can also create this whether I want to have an actual SharePoint task created that the user needs to actually complete, or I can just provide it as information. So very, very flexible, allows the HR team to create exactly the types of document materials that they need, provide instructions. Importantly as well, if I go back over here to my new hire, test user 2, the user has the ability to link through, and then this is a really interesting concept. I'm able to accept the task that you read the document by completing the task. So by completing the task, essentially the user's providing an acknowledgement that they've completed that particular scenario. The application in the background is configured, if you want to have it send emails to the HR team in real time. So for example, you could get an email each time the user completes one of these specific tasks if you're tracking them kind of in the background. You're in your office, you're doing some other work, and Outlook message pops up saying that test user 2 has completed their COBRA initial notice. Once all of the tasks are completed, the application sends to the designated person or group in HR a summary email which contains all of the completed information. So you've got some pieces out there that allow you to kind of have that audit trail, another piece of data that you can print out and throw in a file if you're still doing physical file configuration. So the other thing that's really cool about this is it also sends tasks to the user. via email. So you can see here, I set this up this morning, and I've got a set of tasks in my mailbox. So potentially, I've got a client that said they've hired the user. They go ahead and they run the processing. They've given the user, their new hire, their email address for the organization, and potentially that person can go ahead and start filling out their new hire documentation before they even arrive on site the first day. So this is another really kind of cool thing that you can utilize the application for. Okay, so that's our new hire portal. The final component that I want to show you, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm on the right one here. We're in our hire configuration list that we looked at. I'll go back to our portal site. Is our employee performance review application. So this application, we're really kind of we like this application. We spent a lot of time working with several different organizations to come up with a feature set, to really help kind of facilitate the process for performance reviews. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my performance review, and I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the features of the application. Let's see, it's at my homepage. Nope. Let me bring that up here. So the performance review application is really designed to help HR teams facilitate the work process around performance reviews, right? So if you think about that process for most organizations, you have a stage in which goals are being generated, and then those goals are manifested into the goals for that particular individual. And once that process has occurred, then hopefully there's going to be one or two sessions where the manager or the appropriate personnel is going to sit down with the employee. They're going to review their progress and make sure that everything's online, make any adjustments, things like that. And then hopefully, as you go through the process, there's going to be a final review, and then potentially, configuration for compensation, things like that. So that work process, kind of typically flows through an entire year, and one of the challenges that we heard from HR teams were, making sure that everybody's doing all that work. You think about the managers, getting the performance reviews in place, making sure that they're doing the reviews, the progress reviews, making sure they're doing the final reviews, and having people understand that work process. So we've tried to kind of build the application around that. So one of the features that we've built out is the ability to create corporate and department goals and make those available to the end user to help align strategic goals all the way down to the employee's level. And so we've got a couple of lists in the background that handle that, and we've created a custom web part as a dashboard. Again, this can be security trimmed, that allows your users to be able to go in and see kind of that alignment. So you can see for 2018, we have a couple of corporate goals set up. We have increased our business intelligence revenue by 12%. We have increased our security practice revenue by 7%. And you can see underneath this, then we have goals related to individual departments. So there's our HR team, there's the sales team. Sales has, creates 6 security seminars, and I can drill down into that further, and I can start seeing the individual goals that users have. So you can see here in this case, test user 1 has a goal to interview and hire a data analyst related to their department goal of hiring a data analyst, which is then related to increasing our business intelligence revenue. This is backward facing as well, so I could go in and I could see 2017, 2016, so on and so forth. So it gives me that ability again, to drill down and kind of compare and contrast what we were doing the year before. So that is our, go back up to 2018. So that is our goals roll-up feature. The next piece that we put in place is a performance review schedule tool. So this is really all about providing a mechanism for the HR team to be able to create a schedule which represents your specific performance review process. And this gives us the ability to create a series of dates, if you will, which drive notifications. So you could typically at the start of the year, you're going to sit down, you're going to figure out what all your due dates are, any specific notifications or tasks that you want to go out to individuals or managers, and you can add that to the notification schedule application. Again, it's very simple, easy to work with. I'm just going to go ahead and edit. I can view this one. The reason I am in here as a manager, that's why I can't change that. I'm not an admin specifically. Let me jump back over here real quick. Sorry about that. It's all security trim, so as you can see, I didn't have the ability to change that as a manager or an end user. As an administrator, I do have that ability. We'll get that up here. So let's just go ahead and we'll edit this item. So again, similar to the other applications, you have full control over the title of the step or the event and the body, exactly what you want to see here. Again, it's all rich text. You can set your start date and due date, and then identify recipients. These can be individuals, they can be groups, right? So this can be flowed out on a very specific basis, based on, say, different criteria for different departments or different managers. You have the ability to configure the app to just send an email or to generate an actual Sharepoint task which the user needs to respond to. And again, you can have all that reminder email functionality and due date types of things that happen with Sharepoint tasks. So very flexible for that. So what the application does then is it basically wakes up every day, it looks at this configuration list, and then it will send out emails and generate tasks based on the scheduling that you've provided. So it's kind of the idea, I can do it once, I set up my schedule, and then the application will remember. I don't have to remember to send that data out. Frees me up to do other things. The next feature that we have in here then is our performance review meeting scheduler. So this is fairly straightforward. It's a SharePoint list where the HR team or managers, again, depending on how you want to set up the access, can go in and they can actually schedule their meetings, right? So HR might want to go in and set for each manager those 2 progress review meetings, and they can invite the manager and the attendee. So we have that as a function here. I can also potentially point this at a performance review, so they have that directly within the request. And we have kind of customized this particular component. What this does is once you've set up the schedule and you save it, it's going to go ahead and it's going to send out a meeting request to the user with what's called an ICS file. You may have seen these if you register for a seminar, for example, and say you want to add this to your Outlook calendar. So we've added that functionality in so that the review schedule will not only be in the SharePoint environment, but it'll also be in the user's Outlook calendar. Helps facilitate that work. The final piece then is obviously the performance review itself. So again, I'm going to go ahead and jump back over here. So this is our performance review. Basically, the way this works in the background is that we utilize SharePoint lists that are secured, and each user, essentially, each person or employee is going to get a folder in the list. So each folder is security trimmed so that, say, only HR, the manager, and the employee can see those those reviews for that specific employee. The employee can then add goals, or the manager can add goals within the concept of that performance review. The application is set up so that, as you can see here, test user 2 is actually the manager, so they have access. Test user 1 also has access as the employee. It captures the information. This is our 2018 performance review, the user's title and their department. We also present the performance review schedule as part of the performance review, so you can demonstrate to the user that, the employee, that the process was in place and these are all the things that should have been accomplished. And then the performance review components themselves. So we have a goal setting component, and then we have a review component. This is a dynamic form, so typically at the start of the year, manager and the employee are going to sit down and they're going to go through and create their goals. And so I can click on here. I have one goal already, but I can go ahead and I can click another goal. And we've only got one goal set up for HR. As you know, this person is in the HR team, so I see here the goals of the department to hire the data analyst. So I'm just going to go in here and just type in quickly demo goal 2. I can give that a description, and I can go ahead and save that. So what that's going to do is it's going to add that goal to my performance review. So you can see there's that second goal there. And then the user has the ability to edit that description. The manager or the user can add their comments to performance, and the manager can type in their comments. They also then have the ability at the end, say for ratings period, they can rate the each individual goal. We have two options. We have kind of the exceeds expectations, below expectations, so on and so forth. We'll just go ahead and say exceeds expectations and save that. Once all of those goals are done, we'll just hit that one really quickly. Again, we'll say exceeds and saves. We also have a 1 through numbering system rating. Then I can do a performance review across all of the goals, again, manager and employee, and then I can rate that. So we can get that to pop up here. I always get lost on the spot there. There it is. Say exceeds expectations and saves. The user then, once that updates, can be presented with the form and asked to acknowledge that they have received their performance review. That allows us to document that they did receive it, and then if you need a written printable copy, it can also generate that. So we'll just open that real quick. And there is our form that can be downloaded for physical signature. This can be also integrated through like DocuSign as well if you want to go with digital signatures. Okay, so sorry, I wanted to try to have a little bit of time right at the end. It took me a little longer to get through this, and I thought I apologized, but hopefully, showed you some information here.